take a look at draft needs for the Bills. Buffalo traded star wide receiver Stefon Diggs to the Houston Texans earlier this offseason after letting Gabe Davis go in free agency. As we look at Mel Kiper's top wideouts in the draft, a run of wide receivers may come after the quarterbacks, with Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and Malik Neighbors all projected to go in the top 10. Stephen A. Smith. Should the Bills move up to draft Diggs' replacement in Buffalo?
I'm inclined to say yes. I don't want them giving up too many assets, but at the end of the day, if Josh Allen is all that you claim he is, you need to help him out to the best. You can't just leave him hanging. He can't. The one thing we know about great quarterbacks is they can't catch the balls they throw. Okay? Somebody else, you got to have somebody else out there to catch it. And so when you lose a Stefon Diggs, when you lose a Gabe Davis, you've got to offset that loss by bringing somebody in to let Josh Allen know, look, we know what we have in you. We've got to supplement you with some weapons.
I mean, this is a deep wide receiver draft. And you think about a guy like Xavier Worthy, who ran 4.21 at the Combine out of Texas. He will be there late in the first round. There's also some good wide receivers that could be splattered or that you can get when you think of the second and third round. And also, let's look at the Kansas City Chiefs and the Patrick Mahomes model. If you believe that Josh Allen is that guy, if you think that having Stefon Diggs elevated him to a level where he can make players around him better, why would you reach? Why would you trade up? If you think that a guy like Rome Odunze or maybe Brian Thomas Jr. from the LSU is your guy and you can work out a way to get up and get them where you don't have to give up too many assets, maybe that's something you have the conversation about. But I don't feel like you want to mortgage picks and assets right now when you have a quarterback who should be able to elevate the play of the skilled players around him.
If you got one specific person you want to.
That's why
I interviewed Worthy. Listen, he wants to be with a big time. Everybody, any receiver will want to be with a big time quarterback.
I'm with Ryan because you think about it. There are 6 quarterbacks who go in the first round. They have the 28th pick. So 6 quarterbacks who go in the first round. I'm going to include Knicks and Penix with the big 4. You got a lot of offensive linemen who are going to go early in the first round. And then you got the tight end from Georgia who's going to go early in the first round. And then you got all these receivers, 3 guys from Washington.
Yep.
So McMillan, Polk, and
Polk,
Duzzi.
Sure.
Yeah, so you got a lot of guys. So I think you can sit back at 28. I don't see them going crazy. They got the second-round pick. They're drafting receiver. I think they probably can get a halfway decent one at that pick.
I'm just saying if I got Josh Allen, I don't want halfway decent. I need a sure thing. Whoever that sure thing is, go get him. I get where y'all coming from. I don't necessarily disagree. But if you got your target on one guy and you think he's not going to be there, then you do what you can to get him.
Yeah, I think, too, though, you go back to last year's draft, there's a lot of misses when it comes to wide receivers. You got a guy like a Justin Jefferson who goes in the 20s, and he becomes the best wide receiver in the entire league. Devontae Adams was also a second-round pick.
Yeah,
so I'm not saying that you can wait on these players. Stefon Diggs was a 5th-round pick of Minnesota. I'm not saying that you can wait on these players, but when you have these wide receivers who do have these special traits, when you pair them with a premier passer, I think that's when you get to see them reach their full potential. And so to me, if you're the Buffalo Bills, there's so much more that you can add to this team that you could use those assets for rather than trading up for one wide receiver in a receiver-rich draft.
Plus, they got that second-round pick, too, so they have a chance there. I think the GM's good.
Yeah,
I think Buffalo will be okay.
Brandon Beane's a good GM.
On the flip before we roll, how good's Houston going to be this year?
I think Houston's going to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're C.J. Stroud, you went into a situation last year that people thought was the worst. Right, going into the season, it was you have a defensive-minded head coach. You don't have a number 1 receiver. All he does is make Nico Collins a 1,000-yard receiver. We saw what him and Tank Dell were able to do. And now you add Stefon Diggs to that, along with Joe Mixon at the running back position. What this team said was, we got one of those ones at quarterback. And at some point, we're going to have to pay him a ton of money. Let's try to win it while he's on his rookie deal.
100%.
Absolutely.
And if anybody
it's going to be fun to watch.
I'm sorry to interrupt. If anybody saw Stroud against Georgia in that semifinal game, you knew Stroud was going to be great.
Yeah.
I haven't seen McCarthy play that kind of game, so that's why I think Stroud.
Well, and not only that, I can't take too seriously Jim Harbaugh
I
about
totally
J.J.
agree.
McCarthy. That's your guy.
Yeah,
you
of course.
understand? I just can't do that.
Yeah.
Did you see the Vegas odds have changed, though?
Yes, of course, because Jim Harbaugh's going to have that kind of effect. But I will say this. There's only 2 teams definitively better than Houston in my mind in the AFC. That's Kansas City because they're the reigning defending champions and they got the greatest quarterback in the game, and the Ravens. Outside of that, I don't think you can look at anyone else in the AFC and definitively proclaim they're up on Houston.
I agree.
Not now.
And they're in a bad division.
Yep.
Which means they don't get banged up and they get a high seed.
Yeah, who benefited from that?
And when you bring
that was with the Patriots.
That's exactly what the Jets. Good job,
And
Molly.
when you bring up Trevor Lawrence, that's what I want to see. I want to see what Trevor Lawrence does now that you've seen the year that C.J. Stroud has had. Now that you know what Anthony Richardson could do when he comes back healthy and Indy, I want to see what Trevor Lawrence is going to do. Are you going to respond to that kind of challenge?
Big year for him. I'm with you.
Yeah.
You may continue.